The Cape Coral waterfront market, is another crash coming, or is this time completely different? Let's talk about it. Hi everybody, if we've never met, my name is David Meyers. I'm a real estate agent with EXP Realty here in Cape Coral, Florida. I specialize in waterfront property in Cape Coral, and I have done since 2003. Now, a lot of people are talking about the next crash. A lot of people are saying, hey, I'm going to wait and I'm going to buy in when the next crash happens. But this market is completely different to the market that we had back in 2004 through 2007 when there was a huge run-up and a huge correction. There are 7 major differences between this market and last market. Let's get into it. Number 1, credit versus cash. When I first got my license in 2003, all the way up until 2007, a good percentage of people who were buying waterfront homes were buying them with credit. A lot of people were speculating and using credit, and that's not what's happening today. A lot of the people who are buying homes today are bringing cash. They're either taking cash that they have saved and they want to put it into a hard asset, or they're just taking cash from a house that they sold up north in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, and they're taking that home that they sold up there and they're bringing that cash down here with them. I've never seen so much cash in my life. And that is one of the things that makes this market completely different from the last market. Back in the old days, it was all credit, almost all credit. And when things went south, people who didn't have a lot of skin in the game gave their house back to the bank, which was one of the biggest reasons for the correction in 2007. With the majority of people today paying cash, that's not a factor. Number 2, easy qualification versus conventional qualification. During the run-up to the correction that happened in 2007, you could qualify for a mortgage with almost no money or no money, with a job that would never normally qualify you for a house like the homes that are on the water in Cape Coral, and with a credit score in like the high 600s, all right? So you could take your 680 credit score, you could work at Ace Hardware for $12 an hour, you could go into a bank, you could basically just fabricate your income and assets, and you could qualify for up to $1 million with no down payment. And a lot of these loans were less than interest only loans that were adjustable. And a lot of people got in trouble because of this. And a lot of the people that did this didn't just buy one house. They bought 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And with the interest rates back then, trying to rent them out to people was a challenge. So there were a lot of things at play with the qualification process that led up to the crash last time. Today, if you want to buy a house for $500,000, you need 20 to 30% down, you need 2 years worth of bank statements, you need tax returns, income statements. It's more of a conventional process like it always was in the past. In order to borrow money today to buy a house in Cape Coral, you have to actually be creditworthy, which is a major difference between what's happening right now and what happened in 2005, 6, and 7. Number 3, broke speculators versus end users and real investors. Back in 2005, 2006, and 2007, a lot of the people who were buying who called themselves investors were actually just speculators. And another word for speculator is gambler, right? So you could go into the bank and easily qualify for a loan. It was a less than interest only loan. It was an adjustable rate. So the teaser rates were really low, and they were investors basically buying low and selling high. So they just bought the property at today's value, hoping that that would double over the next couple of years. And then once it reached their dream level, the idea was to sell it out and sail off into the sunset. Well, today, the people who are buying are actual end users and real investors. And what I mean by actual end users and real investors, the actual end users are people that intend to buy this house and live in it, either today or in eventuality. A lot of people are buying, they're going to retire in 3, 4, 5 years. They're going to buy the home and actually live in it when they retire, or use it as a second home as a snowbird. The actual investors about which I'm speaking are people who can actually qualify with down payments and creditworthiness to buy these homes. And the way that they're renting them out is not annually, like a lot of the people were doing in 2005. They're renting them out seasonally, which brings me to number 4. Number 4, VRBO and Airbnb. Back in 2004, 5, 6, and 7, Airbnb was kind of in its infancy. Today, it is a major player for investors because people, when I go and travel to some place, if I'm going with a large group, I'm not going to stay at a hotel because you can have a lot better experience. The level of luxury is a lot better. The level of privacy is a lot better. And when you compare the rates for VRBOs and Airbnbs to hotels, it's a no-brainer for a family vacation or a multifamily vacation. And as you know, this travel is restricted by what's going on medically in the country, there are going to be a lot more people who aren't going to go to Europe for the summer, who aren't going to go to Mexico for a vacation. They're going to stay here in the United States. And the VRBO model is only getting stronger. Which brings me to number 5, interest rates. Interest rates right now are as low as they've ever been. And even though they're a little bit higher for investors, they're still crazy, crazy low. And even at today's prices, even though people think the prices right now are highly elevated, when you do the math on the VRBO business model, you can cash flow waterfront properties relatively easily with this model. So the interest rates are another thing that are keeping prices up because the people who are investing in vacation rental properties are able to cash flow these properties very successfully. Number 6, low inventory. Of all the years that I've been selling real estate, I have never seen inventory levels this low. Back in 05, 6, 7, 8, even 10, 11, 12, all of these years, there was always enough inventory to go around. It was always like a 3-month supply. If someone wanted to buy a house, you could send them a list of homes. They could come down in 2 or 3 weeks. You go out, those homes are still available. They take their pick of which house they want. They take their time, kind of mull it over a little bit, write an offer, and end up going home with a house. Today, it's not like that. If someone says, hey, I'm going to be down there in 2 weeks, I almost can't even give them a list of what's available right now because none of that will be available when they get here. There are people that call in the morning about a property. They're at work, so they can't talk during the day. By the time I call them back at 5, 6 o'clock at night, the property's gone. Inventory is amazingly, amazingly low right now. In the supply and demand curve, inventory is supply, and supply and demand are inversely proportional. So when there's a low supply, the demand is very high, and high demand and low supply keeps prices up. Number 7, inflation. If you watch the news or if you listen to politicians, they'll always tell you that there is no inflation. But if you go to the grocery store and you see $10 pounds of bacon and, $4 or $5 cartons of eggs, you know that there's inflation. In 2007, a $100,000 car was a 911 GT3. In 2020, a $100,000 vehicle is a Ford F-250. In 2007, when the market fell apart, Congress wanted to pass this TARP program. TARP was $700 billion, which at the time, everybody was losing their frickin' mind over $700 billion. It was so fiscally irresponsible. Nobody had ever seen a package this big before. But right now, the Fed is buying $80 billion a month minimum worth of treasuries and $40 billion a month minimum worth of mortgage-backed securities. I just read a news article today where the Congress is looking at passing a $1.3 trillion infrastructure program. Okay? You cannot actually pass bills like this and spend money like this without inflation. It's absolutely not possible. So one of the things that we're seeing that's keeping prices up and is going to drive prices potentially higher in the future is inflation. A lot of traders that I talk to, they're not even talking about anything other than what the Fed's doing. They're not looking at any standard models of pricing except for what's the Fed going to do, and that's what they're going to follow. So inflation, even though they'll tell you that it's not happening, inflation is real. So in conclusion, hey, listen, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen with this market. A lot of people have their own ideas. I just wanted to bring up these 7 points that make this market completely different from the market that we saw in 04, 5, 6, 7, and then afterwards, okay? There are a lot of factors at play here that make this market something completely different than what it was last time. If you have questions about these topics or anything else relative to waterfront property or real estate in general in Southwest Florida, I'm always happy to talk to you about it. My telephone number is 239-529-0555. You can call or text. My email address is waterfrontluxury@gmail.com. Now, if you're watching this on Facebook or social media, you can like my page. That way, when new videos come out, you can be notified. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, and that way, when new videos come out, you'll be notified right away. If there's anything that I could do for you, feel free to reach out. Always happy to help. And until then, I'll see you out on the waterfront.